Hey everyone, welcome back to Ontario Gardening. So today I'm going to show you how to turn your goat's milk into cheese. It's very simple. It's just 3 ingredients, just a little time consuming, but this is for those who have maybe some goat's milk left from their kidding goats. I have a friend that supplied ours. She had some extra and lent it to us for a video. If you are using goat's milk straight from the goat, you can just leave it as is. If you want to pasteurize it, awesome. If you are using store-bought goat's milk, so you can find it at like health stores or even just a regular grocery store, you're gonna look for goat's milk that is the highest fat content. So usually that's like your Homo milk, the 3% milk. And don't look for anything that's super pasteurized. To have like a single pasteurized is fine, but sometimes you'll see milk that says like ultra pasteurized or multiple pasteurizations. We don't want that. You're just looking for the high fat content, low pasteurization. Is, you know, almost true to regular goat's milk as you can possibly get. Obviously, fresh out the goat is best, but obviously the store-bought is just as good. So you're going to use, this recipe is for a quart of goat's milk, and it's going to make 6 to 8 ounces of cheese. So I've got a quart of my goat's milk, a 1/3 cup of lemon juice, and 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. And that's all you need in terms of ingredients. If you'd like to add salt, you can get a 1/4 teaspoon of salt to add to this. The other option is if you are one of those that like herbs or anything in your goat's cheese. So if you ever bought like a specialty log from the grocery store or whatnot, you know, sometimes they have herbs in them or crusted on the top, or they have cranberries, raisins, cinnamon to make like a sweet loaf. That's totally fine if you want to add those. I'm going to use dill. I love dill everything, so I'm just going to use some dried dill. You want your ingredients to be dry. They just keep longer and don't spoil as fast, and use whatever herbs you want. So I'll show you that at the end. And then you're going to need a pot, a thermometer, and you have 2 options for straining. You can take a spaghetti strainer and cheesecloth. I know this isn't cheesecloth, but for dramatic effect, I am showing you. You would put it in here to strain like this. Because I don't have cheesecloth on hand, I'm just using a very fine mesh sieve. It has to be very fine mesh with almost minimal exit, because the cheese curds are going to be tiny in comparison if you've ever done like farmer's cheese or feta cheese. Those are big curds. These ones are not. So make sure it's super, super fine mesh, or you're going to watch all of your cheese go right through it. So we're going to go ahead and go to the stove. We're going to set our pot on our element and put it on a low to medium heat. The goal here is to get our goat's milk slowly up to 185 degrees. Key word being slowly. We do not want to try and do this really fast. You could potentially scorch your milk, which is obviously going to taste gross and burnt, or you risk the curds not turning out proper, and then it's going to be one big of a mess when you're trying to roll your log or make a shape out of it. It'll likely be way too crumbly and just not the same as you would. Now, it would still be edible. The taste is just going to be off, and so is the texture and consistency. So slow and steady like wins the race in this one. So go ahead and add your milk. Okay, and we're just going to slowly stir this, making sure it's not burning to the bottom, and we're going to keep an eye on it. And it should take about 10 to 15 minutes if you've got it on a nice low to medium heat, to slowly get to temperature. So keep checking in with that thermometer. Mine was chilling in the fridge, so we're only at like 58 degrees Fahrenheit right now. We've got a while. So stir frequently to make sure none of that is burning, and you're looking for 185 degrees Fahrenheit. Once you get there, we will get to the next step. Mind my hands. I was just out with black mulch, and my hands are stained until I can fix them. Okay, so we're just hitting 185 now. As you can see, there is nothing boiling, just lots of steam. That's where we're at. That's what we're looking for. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it off the heat. And we are going to add in that lemon juice. So if you don't remember what that is, it's the 1/3 cup. And we're just going to add this in. And then we're going to slowly just stir that in. Just gently kind of fold it in, just like this. Now that it's nice and combined, we can go ahead and add the 2 tablespoons of vinegar. And the 2 of them together are gonna activate, and you're gonna wanna stir those in as well until nice and combined. And now we're gonna let this sit here for 30 minutes. As you can see, it's already kind of starting to crumble up or way up. So I will see you back here in half an hour and we'll continue on to the next step. Okay, so it's been half an hour. We've left it, and as you can see, that is your goat's cheese. See how it's very, very minuscule in terms of the curds? So at this point, you would add it to your bag of cheesecloth. So if this was the cheesecloth, you would basically pour it into the cheesecloth and then tie the cheesecloth up, and you would hang it from your kitchen, ideally from your kitchen faucet, because then it drips right down into the sink, or over a bowl or something like that, and you would leave it for an hour. Same goes if you're using a different method. You're going to want to strain everything into your strainer and leave it for an hour dripping wherever it is you're leaving it to drip. Okay, so at this point we have most of the moisture out, and we can shape it into whatever shape that we want. And at this point you can add some salt on top, or your herbs, or if you're mixing something in, you can go ahead and do that too. Totally up for you. I just got some on, I got it on some parchment paper. I'm just gonna shape mine into a log the best that I can. It's not gonna look store-bought, this is homemade. But I'm gonna do my best. And then I'm gonna sprinkle, I'm gonna forego the salt because this is already gonna have a pretty tangy taste to it, just being that it's homemade and it's not commercially pasteurized or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go and put my herbs on now. And then after I'm done doing this, I'm going to put it into the fridge for a solid hour or 2 before I even try to dig into it. So here it is there, and like I said, once it comes off of this and once it's refrigerated and it sets up a little bit better, it'll look a lot better than this. So we'll see you soon with some crackers to try this bad boy out. And here's our finished product. We have got a beautiful herbed goat cheese here with fresh goat's milk. Simple as that. We will talk to you soon. Enjoy your creations. Bye.